It is time to recap what was a hectic week around the NFL draft. We're going to recap the entire weekend. We'll have some Eagles draft talk. We'll talk some draft winners and losers. We got a big old dramatic controversy with a certain quarterback in the NFL draft. But let's get to it. So do us a favor, kick back, relax, because episode number 43 of 609 Sports Talk, it starts right now. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of 609 Sports Talk live here on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, these episodes can drop every Wednesday on Spotify. So do us a favor, go hit that like, follow, subscribe button wherever you can find us on the social media platforms. Of course, you know this is the show that unites fans and ignites a whole heck of a lot of debate. As always, we are your hosts, Sam Nelson, Tyler Adams. Mr. Adams, how are we doing today?
Oh, man. Doing terrible.
Why are we doing terrible?
Victory Monday.
I mean, can't getting a draft grade of an A be considered a Victory Monday?
It's actually a double Victory Monday.
There's a double Victory Monday? How do you have a double Victory Monday?
When you're the Super Bowl champs and you still come out of the draft with one of the best hauls.
That's a fair point. You know, I didn't think of it like that. So, look, first off, we have a lot to talk about. We are going to get into all the craziness that happened over the weekend. We're going to talk Eagles draft. We're going to do some draft winners and losers. We're going to get to all our stuff in just a moment. But before we completely start the night out, I do just want to say from the bottom of my heart to thank you to everybody that made last week all of our draft coverage so fun. We had over 900 views on each of our episodes last week, including the two shows that we were live reacting almost every pick. You guys were awesome last week. We appreciate all the love and support you showed those episodes, and we cannot say thank you more than we could right now. And also, Mr. Adams, you know, give it about another. We're closing in on 50 episodes, man.
Oh yeah, we are.
We're on 43. We're closing in on 50. But it's been a fun 43 weeks. Let's just say that. But anyway, first topic on the show tonight. Big drama over the weekend. Colorado Buffaloes quarterback, now Cleveland Browns quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. Of course, he went from being a potential top 3 pick in this draft to then just a top 10 pick to maybe a first-round pick. Well, after a lot of controversy and opinions have been crossed around over the past couple days, Shedeur Sanders was picked in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns in the draft. He fell all the way to 144 in the draft. Tyler, I know you've been egging to get to this topic since basically the draft concluded. What caused the Shedeur Sanders draft stock to plummet that far?
So, it's been a whole saga that took 144 players to end. And if you look around, you hear a million different things. You hear, oh, the NFL's trying to blackball Shedeur Sanders and the Sanders family. Oh, they're trying to make a statement, this, that, and the other. Not only did Shedeur Sanders perform bad, you remember those were the first articles that we heard that he performed poorly in his interviews? And then a lot of people try to defend him. Oh, you know, some people just interview badly. No,
Fair enough.
It came out later that he didn't perform poorly. He chose to tank and sandbag these teams in the interview process, the teams that he did not want to play for. He went out of his way to perform terribly. I read a little bit more today about his meeting with Brian Dable, the Giants, and
Mm-hmm.
he was completely unprepared. Dable straight up said he called him out on it, and Shedeur Sanders didn't like that he called him out on it, thought he was above it, and that was pretty much the end of that right there. The Giants were never going to touch him. So now we get to draft day. The quote unquote second best quarterback prospect in the draft besides Cam Ward sees, remind me the number, Sam, was it 5 other quarterbacks have their name called?
I believe so.
Yeah, he goes 5 rounds. Not only is he not picked night 1, he's not picked on day 2, and he waits a little bit on day 3. He did this to himself, and the NFL and the executives, which I actually give props to them for, they did not allow Shedeur Sanders and his dad rule what he was going to do in the NFL. They went out of their way. You know damn well, both the Saints and the Browns would have taken him in a heartbeat in the first round.
Without a doubt.
But they were not going to have a guy who not only said that he didn't want to play for certain teams, performed poorly in their interviewing process on purpose. They were not going to take the gamble on that. So yeah, no wonder why Dillon Gabriel got drafted before Shedeur Sanders did. Because they wanted to send a message to him and prove a point that, hey, we're not going to sit here and cater to you. And we don't care what your last name is, who your dad is, doesn't matter. You're getting an opportunity to play on a professional level. You need to be grateful for it, for whatever team calls your name. Not, oh, I'm too good for this team. They got to change their culture to fit me. Get out of here. You had 1.5 good seasons at Colorado. Congratulations, and you didn't do anything special. Except get your jersey retired so that they can have the last name Sanders hanging up in the stadium. Congratulations. You know, I saw a funny meme today. The first 5th rounder to have their jersey retired for their college program. He's just setting records left and right.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I can't feel bad for him at all. I can't. From everything that came out, everything that he did, the way he carried himself, presented himself, he deserved it.
Well, cool. You said a lot. You got a good point across. And look, let me just come out and say this first, okay? Do I believe that Tyler Stuff, or whatever the heck his name is, and Dillon Gabriel are better quarterbacks than Shedeur Sanders? No. Should he, just based off of talent-wise, been drafted that low? No, because there are quarterbacks that are those quarterbacks are not better than him. As a talent, in the right system, Shedeur Sanders could actually be a very good NFL quarterback. Just like you said. And the other problem I'm having with these quote-unquote media outlets, they're playing, you know what card they're playing this. But we ignore the guy who went number 1, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, oh, because he's already successful. What? No. Let's rephrase that term. His dad is successful.
Yep.
His dad is one of the greatest NFL players to ever play the sport. His dad is a multi-sport athlete. His dad is one of the top talked about coaches in college football. What the hell has Shedeur Sanders done?
Do I need to answer that?
Also, the other problem with this whole thing is when Dion came out and said, about him and Travis Hunter. Remember, this has to do with both of them. He said, and Deion came out and said, oh, no, there are just places they're not going to play, and I'll make sure of that. So you have to put in the fact that teams probably said, oh, we're going to have to deal with this sideshow. Now we're good.
Yep.
So for anyone that's trying to use a certain card to aid Shedeur Sanders, that's fine. But when you come in, you're not prepared for your interviews. You tank the interviews you don't want to be on. And your father basically already says, I'm going to be involved in his NFL life because there's just certain teams I don't want him to play for because apparently I know what goes on around there because Deion's been in the league for the past 20-plus years.
What a joke.
So, no. Miss me with that everything that people are trying to spin this as. Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders have no one to blame but themselves for what happened over this past weekend. Which, basically, guess what? They screwed themselves from them because they didn't even have anyone else to tell them, hey, what you're doing is not a good idea. Did you not hear what happened after the draft on Saturday?
No.
Shiloh fired their dad.
Oh, that was real?
Yeah, he hired Drew Rosenhaus after he went undrafted because he was like, what the hell was the point
I didn't
of
look into it. I thought it was just a joke, but wow. That's actually
real. He freaking
real.
hired Drew Rosenhaus.
Oh, that's great.
And they got picked up by the Bucs. Real quickly, comments are flying in. Dustin's in here with us. What's up, Dustin?
What's up, Dustin?
So Dustin's saying Sanders did this to himself. Plain and simple. When you publicly admit that you tanked interviews, what do you think is going to happen? You should have heard the green room on Thursday about him. Oh, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in there. Well, Dustin was a fly on the wall in there. Dustin also said he also took an interview with the Saints and chose to answer a FaceTime call in the interview.
Yeah, that's where they were probably out on him right away. They said, all right, Louisville kid, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know about that still.
Not touching. Yeah, I don't know about that either. Guess what? They're waiting for the real quarterback class of 2026.
Oh, yeah. Anthony said the icing was on the cake. That's when Sanders got prank called by the Falcons. Yeah, did you hear who it was?
So that was the Falcons' son?
It was Jeff Ulbricht's son.
Oh, was it? Oh, wow.
He took the number from something in his dad's office. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, but apparently this is happening all weekend. Tyler Warren said that it happened to him. Isaiah Bond said it happened to him. That's not cool because you're messing with these kids' lives. I don't care about what you think about Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, no. I did not agree or condone what they did. It's basically a breach of privacy. That number was reserved for NFL coaches and teams.
Exactly. Dustin also said, apart from Travis Hunter, there was no one, and I mean no one at the draft that wanted to be teammates with him. I bet Travis Hunter wanted to. Travis Hunter, of course, he wanted to. She's the one that threw Travis Hunter the ball every time.
Huh.
What's up, Carol? Happy Victory Monday. But, no, at the end of the day, like you said, Shedeur did this to himself. And also, I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing Deion just keep bringing up, I can't find a quarterback that throws for 4,000 yards and 37 touchdowns. Okay, well, Kyle McCord led the ACC in passing and went in the 6th round.
Yep.
What God gift physical traits does Shedeur Sanders have? You say he's a franchise quarterback.
Again, is that a question I'm supposed to answer for you?
Well, I mean, if you know, somebody might as well.
Can't answer that one either.
And I don't. Who am I to hate someone for living their dream of being in the NFL, right? I hope Shedeur has a solid career. I hope he goes to Cleveland, and I hope they are able to figure it out with him, and I hope he succeeds. I don't know how much I would trust myself to succeed in Cleveland, but still.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you did this to yourself. He might as well have been the third best quarterback in this draft. We don't know right now. But the fact that you tanked every interview that you basically went on, and the fact that you essentially you just came, and that's the problem. People people are trying to say, oh well, they're going after a kid of a successful. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And they don't like seeing the people like him be successful. No, they don't like people like him who have not stepped a foot in it on an NFL football field and think he's entitled to something because of the last name on his jersey. That is what I have said about Shedeur Sanders every moment since the process started. He cares more about the last name on his jersey than the team he'll play for.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders will be one of two things. He'll be either be on 4 or 5 teams in his career, or he'll be out of the NFL within 3 to 5 years. Anthony, he wouldn't even have been at Colorado if his dad wasn't the coach. He never even got a top-tier offer from a school. He was in Jackson State.
Yep.
The only reason he went to Colorado is because his dad took him and Travis Hunter there. Now, granted, he turned Travis Hunter into a stud. But do you notice how much Colorado did not run the football last year? He was trying to justify how good he thinks Shedeur is. And look, who am I to say of a father trying to get his son drafted? It's like LeVar Ball. All he wants is what's best for his kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
it's true.
Excuse me. And I'm not knocking that. That's a good parent for wanting your kids to be the best and to have the best. But for you, the individual, not Dion, I'm talking about Shedeur. Dion did Shedeur when he said, oh, we'll go where I say we go, basically.
Yeah.
You don't get, well, Dion, I don't think it was like that when you got drafted. You don't dictate where your kid plays. So as soon as those comments came out, that's about 16 teams in the NFL said, yeah, we're good.
Yep.
You knocked out about 16 teams off the chance of him getting drafted from there. But for you to go into these interviews and just walk in and you're basically just essentially just saying, I'm Dion's son. What else do I have to say? With Shedeur, I hate to break it to you, you're not your daddy.
Nope.
Your dad's a Hall of Famer. You're not your daddy. So, now look, again, talent-wise, should he have been picked before the 5th round? Absolutely. There ain't no way you can tell me that Dylan freaking Gabriel is a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. And don't get me started with the kid from Louisville either. Please don't get me started with that.
Oh, trust me. That was just like we'll take what we can get. We'll address this next year. Now, granted, I don't know why they would do it so early if that was the case, but here we are. Who knows? Or they just landed the next Tom Brady. The world's weird.
That is true. And all right, Tyler, give me your thoughts on this. I'll let you go first. Anthony said he thinks his son is Eli. All the people are comparing it to saying, oh, but when the Mannings did this, it was okay.
So I do get that, right? Eli did set not even a precedence because we didn't really see it a whole lot. But he did do it before. But I don't know. Something about this just felt more like I don't know what's a good word to describe it.
It did feel like the NFL was trying to make an example out of him.
Yeah.
And also, for the people saying, oh, the Mannings got away with it, but they couldn't. Maybe this is why this happened. Maybe Goodell said, look, we did this with Eli all those years ago. We're not doing it again.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Eli, Eli didn't come out and say, "Oh, I only play for this team." He didn't want to play for the Chargers. He strictly came out and said, "I don't want to play with the Chargers." That's what he said. Shedeur's out there tanking interviews on multiple teams.
Yeah. I feel like it was how him and Dion were more vocal about it. I feel like that's what really hurt them compared to what Eli did.
Yeah, now let's also be fair. Social media, all that stuff, way bigger now than it was back then.
Yeah.
And that's the other problem with this is now you have to sit back as an NFL franchise. I'm sorry, Browns fans, I hate to say this to you, but every week that you don't start Shedeur Sanders, you are going to hear something from Dion on Saturdays after his game.
Mm-hmm.
After Colorado plays their game, you're going to have to hear something from Dion. Oh, I should have played my son this week. You would have won. And then when you do put him in and he plays poorly, he's going to blame Stefanski publicly. Yep. Garrett, I'm putting up. He is going to open his mouth every Saturday when Colorado loses, because they do a lot of that. That's the other thing. I don't understand where Dion is like, yeah, Dion's a big name. He ain't Ryan Day. He ain't Nick Saban last time I checked.
Yep.
So, but get back to some comments here. Dustin did say Gabriel is more experienced than Sanders and has the most touchdowns in NCAA history. And he also brought up that Gabriel is a better fit for Stefanski. That rightly could be.
I
don't know how much stock I put. I don't know how much stock I'm going to put into it, but that Mary could be. But at the end of the day, like we said, Shedeur did this to himself. If you would have just attacked the pre-draft process, not only that, you didn't do anything. Combine didn't work out. He didn't do anything at the combine.
Nope.
He did nothing.
Mm-hmm. Because, again, he thought he was above it.
Yeah.
Which I still don't get. I don't know at what point he thought he was the best prospect in the draft and that nobody could touch him. And that he was a shoo-in.
I agree. I mean, if in his 2 years at Colorado, okay, he was solid. I mean, look, it's 2023. He threw for 3,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, 3 picks, 69.3% completion percentage. Last year, 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, and a 74% completion percentage. Well, yeah, when you throw nothing but bubble screens, I would hope you would have a high completion percentage.
Yep.
Like I said, I think Shedeur has talent. But the problem with this whole situation is that he was thinking the name on the back of his jersey was going to get him drafted in the top 10. He didn't work out at the combine. He didn't do any of that stuff. He thought that he could go into these interviews, act like he does, and this is what you get. And I'll be the first to say it too. I didn't like it when Eli did it either, to come out and say, I'm not going to play for the Chargers. Yeah. That's the problem. People are trying to use all those cards in this. It ain't about that. Who are you? I don't care if you're Arch Manning's kid. Who and Peyton's brother? Okay, but you got a little bit of more of a bloodline in the NFL at least. So yeah, you'll get a little more like, oh, maybe he is going to be just like Peyton. Turns out he actually won more Super Bowls than Peyton. But at the end of the day, that they ended up just making the trade. And look, the Chargers ended up with Phillip Rivers, had a great run with him. Eli and the Giants had a great run, and that was it. And honestly, if you kind of look at it, Eli really came out publicly and said those things. He was kind of trying to save everyone's time.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially came out and said, I don't want to play for the Chargers. So he's basically trying to say, look, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to play there. Don't draft me. But the problem was the second that Dion came out all that time ago and said, Oh, there are teams I won't let them play for. First of all, you knocked out about 10 teams right off your draft list. But as soon as you do that, you're showing how many other more teams, and they're going to have to sit there and say, well, guess what? If we draft Shedeur, we're going to have to deal with Dion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with this whole thing. Teams realize if we take Shedeur, we're going to have to deal with the sideshow. And there are teams in the NFL that just don't want to freaking deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
So, is there anything else that we'd like to comment on about this situation?
That's about it. I'm over talking about Shedeur Sanders.
I am too. I'm exhausted by it. I've been exhausted by it ever since all this stuff went down. It got annoying and got annoying fast.
I agree.
But anyway, there was a draft outside of Shedeur Sanders. Real quickly, Anthony said in 2018, he said, my son's not playing for the Browns, and guess what? Browns drafted him. So, I mean, Anthony, at that point, if it was either go to Cleveland or maybe go undrafted. Rustin says he agrees with 95% of our points, but to me, Sanders is the fourth best QB in the class. And I agree with that. I actually agree with that. I agree. The top four in this draft, in my opinion, were Milroe, who even he went later than we expected.
Yeah, he did.
Shedeur, Jackson Dart, who honestly probably went right around where he should have, maybe even a little early. I give the Giants credit for that because they didn't give up any future firsts. But that was my top four was Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. So I agree with that. I will come out and say that. There's no way that Dylan Gabriel and Tyler Shuff should have been taken before Shedeur Sanders. It's a joke.
Yeah.
But again, that's what you get when you do what you did. Jalen Milroe didn't come out and say, oh, I won't play here, I won't play there. Jalen Milroe is going to be a backup.
Yep.
Maybe a third string to start the season.
Maybe.
Because Seattle did. Because remember, I know Seattle traded away Sam Howell to the Vikings. They also signed Drew Lock back, so you don't see him pitching a bitch about it. And Dustin, yeah, he was a fourth-round pick at best. I said he wasn't top 10 to me. I didn't think Shedeur was worthy of a top 10 pick. I could have made the case from late first, late second. There's no way that.
I definitely thought by early second he should have been drafted. I didn't agree with him being like a top 10, top 15 pick. I didn't see it.
Oh, now Dustin's saying he would have taken Gabriel before Sanders.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I agree with Anthony here. Gabriel's going to get the shit end of the stick because now they're going to boo him because they want to see Shedeur.
Oh, you know what? That's why Kenny Pickett started.
Oh, knock it off. Yeah, Clint Milroe, he's not very polished. He's got a lot of work to do as a passer, but with the way he can run and all those physical traits, that's the reason why he went where he went. And honestly, McDonald, the Seahawks head coach, he was a defensive coordinator where before? Baltimore. Who's Baltimore's quarterback?
Yeah.
That's why I think Seattle's a really, really good landing spot for Milroe because McDonald knows that style of quarterback.
Well, Nick Saban said something about Milroe after he got drafted, and he was talking about all of his numbers from the year before, and he said the only thing that stood out was the turnovers. If he didn't have all them turnovers, he probably has one of the best collegiate years last year.
Yeah, and it's basically because he's just an erratic inconsistent passer. But if you get him to a point, Jalen Hurts was like that when he came into the NFL, and look at Jalen Hurts now.
Yep.
Now, look, I'm not going to call Jalen Milroe Jalen Hurts, okay? I'm not saying he's going to be the same guy. But also, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, had a leg up on Milroe because he had a year under Lincoln Riley before he came to the NFL, and that helped him a lot. So real quickly, Dustin said Gabriel is more proven, did great at Oklahoma, and then balled out at Oregon. No disagreement there. That Oregon team last year was real good because of Dylan Gabriel. Clint said for where Sanders got drafted, I don't have a problem with it. Oh, no, that's great value where you took him at. Regardless of what the whole situation, this whole saga, where you got him was great. Dustin also said Milroe is going to be Anthony Richardson 2.0. He's a project. Darnold is the guy right now, and Milroe could sit for 2 or 3 years. And honestly, Dustin, that's okay. That's why they took him that late. The biggest problem, and I will disagree with you for one thing. Anthony Richardson started 13 career games at college, and the Colts thought he was a day one starter. And look where it's gotten him, where he's only completing under 50% of his passes.
Because what did we hear about Anthony Richardson? Combine warrior. Strong arm. Yeah. Could sling it. Okay, yeah. That's done him real well so far in the NFL.
Exactly. So I'll give the Seahawks the credit. They have the chance to do it right. Because, Dustin, you pointed out, they do have Sam Darnold for 2 or 3 years. They have – what did they do in the draft? They're trying to build up that offensive line for now and the future. That secondary, they're putting together a secondary out there in Seattle again. You add Nick Emenwari to Reek Woolen and Witherspoon, oh, man. And Julian Love, oh, man. It's getting dangerous out there in Seattle again. But that's the perfect point. Milroe has time to develop. And when Darnold's time in Seattle is over, it could be his time. So the Seahawks played it right. It's a perfect fit. You go to a coach. Yes, McDonald is a defensive-minded coach, but he does know of how a quarterback like Milroe can be coached with Lamar Jackson. Anthony said, I saw some tape on the Saints drafted a quarterback. Yeah, Anthony, we'll get to that in a minute. I got some things to say about the Saints. Dustin brought up Milroe against top 25 teams last year, 2-3, 10 touchdowns, 8 picks. Yeah, not his greatest moments against top teams last year.
But just think, if he can get the turnovers under control, let's say that's 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. They might be undefeated in that 2-3 stretch. Maybe 1 loss.
They very well could have been. And Dustin said Richardson was solely taken because of his combine athleticism. He should have never started from day one, but Shane Steichen was forced to play him sooner than he wanted him to. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I got a fun winner and loser segment coming up. I got a great loser in mind in terms of that. Dustin did send me the picture, so I have confirmation. But yeah, I think Milroe is in a good spot in Seattle. I really do like that spot. He gets to learn. He gets to sit and learn for a couple years. Darnold's going to be the guy. This may have been I think this was the Seahawks' plan all along.
Yeah. I think they probably got him later than they probably thought they could have, too.
Yeah. I really had him going 33 to Cleveland. The whole weekend, I had him going 33. So now he gets to sit for a couple years behind Sam Darnold. Because here's the thing. The Seahawks, with the way they were going, they knew with that regime with Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, it was over. Yeah. That regime was nearing the end. So you trade Geno, and now Geno's in a good spot because the Raiders need to get good now. He gets to go with the guy who revived his career in Pete Carroll, so that's good for him. You bring Sam Darnold over. Sam's still, only 27, 28 years old? You could get really you could potentially get the last 3 really good years of his career left out of him if he can do what he did in Minnesota. I am still very skeptical about that. But now you have 3 years, and Milroe can sit behind him, learn the NFL game. McDonald, yes, I know he's a defensive-minded head coach, but he was in Baltimore with Lamar, who developed every year as a passer, as a playmaker, as a quarterback. And maybe they could work something out with Milroe. I think Milroe's the biggest winner at quarterback in this draft. No offense to Cam Moore, but Tennessee doesn't prove anything to me year in and year out. I wouldn't trust.
Battle.
Yeah, upward battle. Cam Moore's got to save an entire state. Dustin said, I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle trades Milroe. If Darnold works out, the Saints could be a team to watch. For Milroe, as Kellen Moore would love a Jalen Hurts-type quarterback. That's why I thought the Saints were going to take him, too. I thought that made the most sense with either Cleveland, because they just need a quarterback. And I thought the Saints, because Kellen Moore just helped Jalen Hurts have one of the better years of his career.
Yeah.
I really thought that was a big chance. So I'm surprised it didn't happen either. I'm surprised that didn't happen early second round. But I think Seattle did go. And also, Dustin, here's another thing. Make the case as well. If we're entering the last year of that contract and they think Milroe's ready, you can make the same case for Sam Darnold.
True.
They could flip Darnold, too. Clint said the Browns had Gabriel for a top 30 visit, went to dinner with Stefanski, Barry, and the Haslams. The Browns also were the coaches for the East-West Shrine game, so they got a lot of film. Browns were already high on Gabriel, and his performance at the Senior Bowl confirms the Browns' decision. Exactly. So, at top 30... Unless they're the Eagles this year for some reason, top 30 visits mean a lot to these teams. The Eagles usually do pretty good with those. They didn't draft a single one this year. It may not help that all the guys they visited with got picked before their picks, but still.
Exactly. Stuff happens.
But all right. Want to do some draft winners and losers?
I've been waiting to do some winners and losers.
What's that?
I've been waiting to do some winners and losers.
I know, but we've been in quarterback talk, okay? Look, it's been a little fun quarterback talk. All right, so, and of course, everybody in the comments, if you got winners and losers, throw them in. Oh, by the way, Clint just said he meant the Senior Bowl, not the East-West Shrine game. So Tyler and I went through and did 5 winners and 5 losers of the NFL draft. Now, I'll just give you a preview. All 5 of my winners are teams. 2 of my losers are teams. And 3 of my losers are just certain areas of teams. And I told you could have fixed them. You had all day Sunday to do it, okay? Don't get mad at me.
I stuck to the tradition.
Okay, you were sitting in that suite in Lakewood. You could easily fix them right then and there, buddy.
No, I went through and I solidified my decisions.
Okay, that's fine. I solidified mine too.
Sam, no matter which way you cut it, at the end of this segment, your top 5 winners and losers list is still going to suck.
Back to this already?
That's the bottom line.
We're not even there yet. What's up, Mike?
What's up, Mike?
Mike's up here with us this lovely evening. Before we get to ours, Dustin wants to say winners he has is Cleveland. That's a fair one. All right, Tyler, how do we want to do this? We want to go down the list, or we want to switch off and on between 1 and 1?
How about you go down your list? I'll go down my list.
All right, you want me to start off then?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. My first winner of this lovely NFL draft, unfortunately, I hate to say it, it is the New York Giants. Already had a solid free agency class before this. You know, they got Javon Holland to help out in safety. They got a corner from the Saints who they're really high on. You walked out of the first 4 rounds with Abdul Carter, who, in my opinion, is still the best player in this draft. I don't give a damn that Travis Hunter plays 2 positions. Travis Hunter went exactly where he should have gone, to the team that wants to put a show on.
That's fair.
He'll be wrestling in AEW every 2 months when the season's not happening, too, by the way.
Oh, my God.
He'll be at every AEW at Daly's place, guaranteed. But no, so you get Abdul Carter, who, like I said, is my top player in this draft. You come back in the first round and get Jackson Dart without giving up a future first-round pick. So that's great. Then you go in the third round and get one of the steals in the third round, in my opinion, Darius Alexander, who I thought would have been gone by then. So not only have you added Abdul Carter to Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, you add Darius Alexander up front with Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then, damn it, you went out and got Cam Scatterboo. I'm so upset. I love Cam Scatterboo, and now he's on the freaking Giants. Real quickly, Dustin said there's a report of Travis Hunter. Hunter is going to wear number 12 on offense and number 21 on defense. How the hell is that going to work?
That's so much work to have to take your jersey, swapping it on and off.
Every equipment personnel for the Jags to quit.
Honestly, I would. Imagine he gets an interception and they got to get back on the field real quick.
Yeah, right. He's got to do a commercial break just to get his jersey.
What happens if he forgets to swap it?
That would be hilarious.
I think he's got to pick one or the other. I don't see that working out too well.
Mike, just to give our thoughts on the Raiders, I don't have the Raiders on either of my lists. I kind of was just like indifferent with them. But when you get Ashton Genty, you get Ashton Genty. You can't. There's nothing else to say about it.
They got a lot more than just him.
So Dustin said he is going to be listed as a starter on 2 positions. Therefore, he is given 2 separate jerseys. Good luck with that. But yeah, Giants, they get Carter, Dart, Alexander, Scatterboo, and they get Marcus Mbao, the offensive lineman from Purdue in round 5, a guy I also really like. So I thought the Giants had a solid draft.
They had a really good draft.
My favorite winner so far of this draft is the New England Patriots. You get Will Campbell, who, whether he's a guard or a tackle because of his arm length, he's the best offensive lineman in the class. You get him. You go into round 2 and you take Tre'Davion Henderson, who is my favorite running back in this draft outside of Ashton Genty. Then you go into round 3 where you have 2 picks. You get Kyle Williams, so you get another wide receiver to add to that room for another weapon. Then you go into round 3 again and take my favorite offensive lineman in this draft on the interior in Jarrett Wilson from Georgia. Then you go on as well. You get Craig Woodson, a safety, so that'll help out your defensive backfield. Then you go out in round 5. They got Joshua Farmer in round 4, along with Woodson. But in round 5, they took Braden Swinson, the edge from LSU, and he was one of my favorite edge rushers to watch tape. The only thing was that the only real knock on Swinson was he only had really one productive college year, and that was this past year. Just off of those picks alone, the Patriots nailed this draft.
Yeah.
My next winner I have is the Falcons. The Falcons' defense has been inconsistent as hell for the past how many years? I mean, they kind of have a nucleus offensively. You have a really good offensive line. You have Michael Penix. You have Drake London. You have Darnell Mooney. You have Bijan Robinson. You have Kyle Pitts. I'm still high on Kyle Pitts. I think Pitts can still play in this league. Dustin said, I hate to say it, but I did order a Scatterboo jersey. I would have too, but I hate the Giants. I'll buy an Arizona State one.
There you go.
But I think the Falcons, they only had 5 picks in this draft. I think they got 4 day 1 starters on their defense heading into next year. So you go into round one, you get Jalen Walker from Georgia. Not only can he play that off-ball linebacker role, but he can also set the edge. He can play off the edge as well. Then you trade back into the first round, and you go and get James Pierce, the edge rusher from Tennessee. I can't believe that the Giants got their quarterback of the future and didn't give up another first-round pick, but yet the Falcons had to use a first-round pick to come back to get Pierce. I find that so bizarre. So you've established your biggest issue, getting to the quarterback, with Walker, who can do both. He can play off-ball and he can come off the edge, and you get James Pierce. Then, at pick 96, you steal Xavier Watt, who is my favorite safety in the draft. And you're going to pair him with Jesse Bates. He's going to learn from one of the best safeties in football.
Yep.
And then they come back in the fourth with their next pick and get Billy Bowman, another center, and he is probably going to be their day one starter at nickel. The Falcons completely reshaped their defense in one draft.
They had a great draft. And like you said, only 5 picks. But they made each and every single one of them count.
Someone tell Howie that. Always have to trade back. Can't stand it. But it's okay. It just makes my night longer. I want to go to bed. Howie, I want to go to bed. Come on. Just make the pick. Don't got to trade back. That psychopath has like 15 draft picks next year.
And you're going to be so excited for it.
Damn right I am.
Because he's going to package them to move up to get 2 first-round picks.
Okay. In terms of all of these picks, I think the Cleveland Browns may have had the best draft in terms of production out of each pick. Number one. Oh, wait. Dustin's breaking news. Nick Chubb is closing to signing with an NFC North team. Chicago. Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
Dustin, I would have thought they meant a lot of business if they didn't take Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren. But anyway. Look, let me just say this. I don't have the Bears on my list as a winner or a loser. I am, like, in the middle. I think they had a good draft. They got Shamar Turner, who I really like out of A&M.
They had a great draft.
They took Kyle Monungai out of Rutgers, who I really like. And Colston Loveland, Ben Johnson may like him better, but I cannot justify taking him over Tyler Warren. I'm sorry.
The way I look at
it,
Colston Loveland's still going to be a great tight end.
Oh, he is. I still can't justify it. I can't. But anyway, Brown. Now, Dustin brought this up earlier. You walk out with a guy that's going to immediately help out Myles Garrett on the interior and Mason Graham. Then you go right in the round 2 and you get Carson Schlesinger, who is the second best off-ball linebacker in this entire draft. Then you go into number 3 and you take Quinshon Judkins. I know George wasn't happy with this pick, but the Browns have a style of running back that they like and love one. Judkins fits that bill more than Henderson did. Then they go into the next pick and they take Harold Fanning Jr., and now Stefanski's got 2 really good tight ends. They got Fanning and they got Njoku, and I'm sad because I love Harold Fanning. Then, not only do they go and get Quinshon Judkins, then they go back and they get Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee.
Which I think that was kind of a steal.
Oh, God, yeah. And
I
agree
saw
with
Sampson kind of going like late 3rd, early 4th. So for him to be there for him at the 24th pick of the 4th round.
Real quickly, Anthony said winner Tampa Bay, loser Saints, surprise winner Panthers, surprise loser 49ers. I got some thoughts on some of that.
Okay.
Dustin did say Loveland fits the Johnson scheme. He is compared to Sam Laporta, which is who Johnson loves a ton. Loveland is going to be massive. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I just love Tyler Warren.
I know, Sam.
And I just think Warren fits any scheme you put him in. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But also, we said the same thing with the Lions when Ben Johnson was there. Did they take Jahmyr Gibbs too high? Well, that proved to not be true. So I'm sure Loveland's going to be a stud. Clint came on to say when the Browns drafted Junkins, that was the end of Chubb in Cleveland. Unfortunately, I agree. And then Clint said he will always still love Chubb. I'm rooting for him wherever he lands. Absolutely. Nick Chubb is the definition of Cleveland Browns football. But so yeah, I think Cleveland got a bunch of guys next year that are going to make an impact between Junkins, Sampson, Fannin, Schlesinger, Mason Graham, and then of course you got to figure out the quarterback stuff. You got Kenny Pickett, you got Dylan Gabriel, you have Shedeur Sanders. So I think the Browns had a really good draft.
They did.
And my last winner, and this was really hard, I go with the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
What was the Cardinals' biggest issue this past year under Jonathan Gannon? Their defensive front is bad. It's bad. So what did they do in the offseason? They needed help at edge. They signed Josh Sweat. They need help on the interior. They bring back Calais Campbell. And they signed Dalvin Tomlinson to help fill in that nose tackle position. So what do they do in the draft? They go and draft Walter Nolan, who is one of my favorite D tackles in this draft. And oh boy, am I pissed off that he didn't slip down to the Birds. But then, in my opinion, you got the best value pick in the second round because I'm telling you now, if he is healthy, Will Johnson is the best corner in this draft. If he is healthy. They go and add more front seven help. They go get Jordan Burch, the defensive lineman from Oregon. They go and get Cody Simon, the off-ball linebacker from Ohio State. Then they go out and they get Denzel Burke from Ohio State. Nothing special at corner. He has like 50 career starts at Ohio State. So that could be a potential cornerback 2 guy if he's built in the right scheme. Now, he's under Jonathan Gannon, so he probably won't be, but still. So I think the Cardinals really fixed up their defense in terms of fixing that defensive front. Walter Nolan, Jordan Burch helping that interior out. Get with Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson. You get some edge help with Josh Sweat, and you may have got a shut down future corner in Will Johnson. So before we get to your winners, Tyler, let me just get to Dustin's comments. Dustin said it looks like 1 year, $6 million for Chubb with a second-year option. Talk about a steal. This is the offense Johnson dreamed of when he came to Chicago. Plus, they added Luther Burden. That is also Luther Burden is Caleb Williams does not have a short of weapons in Chicago. Let's say that.
Oh yeah.
Packers are massive winners also. He wants to throw up because of that. Matthew Golden replaces Watson, and he's an upgrade. No offense to Christian Watson. The other wideout they got to replace is Dobbs. Plus, they got Golden's teammate in the 5th round, who was seen as a round 2 talent. Fair enough. Yeah, I thought the Packers had a solid draft.
They did.
All right, Tyler. Who are your winners?
All right. So, my winners, a few of them are match up with yours. One, Cleveland Browns. They were my above all favorite winner out of the draft. I mean, trading back a few spots, still been able to land Mason Graham. It's going to be a huge part of their defensive front, which is already scary enough. And then
can I just interrupt real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to bring this up because while we're on the Browns, not only did you get all that haul, you also landed a 2026 first-round pick.
Yes, exactly. They got more, and they still had an amazing draft. They didn't lose anything.
No.
That they solidify the defense more with Carson Schlesinger. I love the Judkins pick. I love that they were able to get good value in Dylan Sampson in the 4th round at 126 to pair with him. Those two are going to be the future 1-2 punch of that Cleveland Browns run game. Harold Fannin, might be another steal. Like, pairing him next to Njoku, I think he's going to clear Njoku maybe first year, at least by second year. And then, getting Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. I mean, will either of them pan out to be long-term options at quarterback? We're going to have to wait to see. But overall, they addressed both sides of the football, and they made their team very strong heading into the season. Next team on my list, I forget if you actually said that you had them in there, if they were an honorable mention of yours, the Chicago Bears.
For an honorable mention, for
I
a very big
really
reason.
like what they did.
I do too.
Colson Loveland, he's going to be a great tight end. He's going to be a great weapon in that offense for Caleb Williams. Going out and getting Luther Burden to add into DJ Moore, um, Cole Kmet, the kid they got, Romeo
June.
Odunze. Roma Odunze. Man, they're just surrounding weapons for Caleb Williams. Like this is Caleb Williams' year to shine. And not only that, the kid out of Boston College, Big Ozzy Trapilo, getting him with the 56 pick. I honestly thought Trapilo could have been like an early round 2 pick for a team. So getting him there was extreme value for them. And just continuing to strengthen that offensive line, which they've already done through free agency.
Weird.
Then another steal, Shamar Turner, another great defensive tackle. And then added in the kid Hippolyte out of Maryland. And then they got some later value out of that corner Frazier. And then, like you said, Kyle Madungai got him in the 7th round. I think he can develop into a better player than a 7th round pick.
Oh yeah.
So my third team is the New York Giants. Man, it's always fun hearing the Giants name come out of my mouth.
I low-key hate that every team in our division had a solid draft.
I know. So the Giants, they didn't giant. They actually had a great draft. They snag Abdul Carter just like we all assumed they were going to. Sorry, Sam. They trade back up and get Jackson Dart, their hopeful quarterback of the future. And he's being put in a good spot.
Yeah. I agree with Dustin what he's saying here about Manungai. The problem is where will the touches come? Yeah, because real quickly, just the problem with Manungai is he's not very big. He's about 5'9", 200 pounds, but he's not like those are smaller backs, but he's not a pass catcher. Like he had 8 career catches at Rutgers. Travion Henderson had 40 this year at Ohio State. That's the problem. But
yeah,
if there's anybody that could get value from Kyle Manungai, it's Ben Johnson. Trust me.
Yep. See, not only do they follow that up by taking Dart in the 1st round, who I think it's great. He's going to be able to sit for a year to kind of learn behind the 2 veterans. And then they get Darius Alexander. When we were watching the draft, I kept calling Darius Alexander's name. Oh, he's going to go here. He's going to go here. He's going to go here. Fell all the way to the 65th in the 3rd round. Great value by the Giants to get him there. They just continue to beef up that offensive front defensive front as if Abdul Carter wasn't enough already.
Not that their front alone already wasn't enough. They even without Abdul Carter.
It's scary. It's a good thing we're not the Cowboys and we have one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Well, maybe that's why the Cowboys took an offensive lineman at 12.
I think they should have taken a little more than they did, but I'll get to them
I agree.
later on. Cam Scatterboo. Heartbreaker. Maybe the Giants finally got their running back. They didn't want Saquon Barkley to be their running back, but maybe they'll accept him. We'll have to wait and see. Great pick, 4th rounder. I know a lot of people weren't super high on him. I thought he should have been a 3rd rounder, but hey, here we are. I can't believe in the 5th round they got the kid out of Purdue, Marcus Mambo. I think he can be a great offensive tackle for him. And then from there, I don't really know much about the other 2 guys they took, so don't really have much to say on them, but I think they got a lot of great value, especially with Alexander where they got him. Alexander, Scatabo, and Membo. I think they got great value out of those 3.
Oh, absolutely.
Then my next team is, I believe you had them as one of yours, the New England Patriots.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people I saw a lot of underrated grades for the Patriots draft, and I'm just confused because I mean they addressed the O line with Will Campbell. He's a proven offensive lineman, offensive tackle. He's going to be great at the next level. Travion Henderson, he's going to fit in great with Ramondre Stevenson. Probably will take his job in another year or so. Um, Kyle Williams, great pick. Can't believe that Jared Wilson fell. He's another one of those guys like Darius Alexander. I just kept calling his name. He's going to go here. They could use him. They could use him. Just keeps falling all the way to the third round. So that's a great pickup for him. And then they get the safety out of California, Woodson. The Florida State kid, Joshua Farmer. That was another steal, too, in the fourth round. I thought he was better than that. And then Braden Swinson. Like, again, another team that got a lot of great value toward the mid rounds of the draft for some players that I kind of had graded higher than that. And then, they rounded out the draft. They got a few other players, took a kicker, long snapper, yada, yada, whatever. But I thought, in terms of what they got for their team, they put their team in a position to compete next year.
I agree.
And my last winner, a team that needs to be talked about. I know you didn't give them a whole lot of credit right off the bat, Sam. The Las Vegas Raiders. They went out, got Ashton Jeanty. We all know that. I really like the kid they got out of TCU. I know around here, Eagles country, we're afraid of TCU wide receivers. They scare the hell out of us. But I think the kid Jack Betch, I think he's going to be a great receiver at the next level. I think they got themselves a good one there. Then they get the kid out of Darren Porter at Iowa State. Great pickup in the third round. Again in the third round.
A lot of players come out.
They go back to back offensive line toward the end of the third round. They went and got Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech and Charles Grant out of William & Mary. I thought Charles Grant was better than a third round pick. I thought he was going in like the second.
I wanted him.
Yeah, I know you did, Sam. I know you did. Then they followed up. They get another wide receiver from Tennessee, Dante Thornton. They got the guy I was making jokes about on draft night, Tonka Hemingway out of South Carolina. With a first name Tonka, you're going to hear his name on Sundays, Sam. Just mark my words. Just wait for it.
Oh, I'm a name guy. Guys will be an all-pro.
Oh, yeah. The Brickashaw?
The
Tonka was going to put the Brickashaw on his butt.
I don't know about that on now.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll just go with it. And then they rounded it out with, took another D tackle. Pega's out of Mississippi. Another wide receiver, Montana State. Sixth round, whatever. Took a North Dakota State quarterback. Those are still coming around. North Dakota State. They're still making quarterbacks over there.
That ain't a good one.
And then whatever Cody Lindenberg is. So definitely, they had a lot of picks in this draft. I think they got really great value all the way up until round 4. So I think they really strengthened their team. I think they're in a position where not saying they're going to win their division. They're in a loaded division still. But they're in a position to not finish dead last and to actually compete. So before we get to our losers, got a couple quick honorable mentions here. I think the Steelers, they got a lot of value. Starting quarterback, they sent out an SOS, still not found. But aside from that, Steelers had a pretty good draft too. The Eagles, we'll get to them later. They addressed a lot of key areas, added depth. 49ers, I think they had a solid draft as well. I do like that they got Jordan James out of Oregon. I think Shanahan's going to make him just another stud running back, just because they always have good running backs in San Fran. I was shocked that they didn't get a Debo replacement.
Well, they were looking at it this way, as in, if you look at it, if IU comes back healthy, Jawan Jennings has been nothing but improving every year since he's been in San Fran.
Yes.
And they just drafted Ricky Pearsall last year. That's how they're looking at
Pearsall is promising as well. So, yeah, that's I guess. But I feel like still, like, there were some good receivers later in the rounds. I feel like at some point they could have taken one, but that was just my opinion.
No, I got some thoughts on the.
And one more thing. Chris Paul's back in LA.
Oh, knock it off.
Chris Paul Jr. got drafted by the Rams. I don't even know if that's actually his kid or not.
No, it's not his kid.
Hey, man, you never know.
All right, real quickly, let's get to some comments before we do our losers here. So back to the Giants for a minute. Dustin said they had no choice but to have a great draft. Joe Stain's job was on the line.
Yeah, literally.
Clint said that the Cardinals, Browns, and Ravens are his winners. I like the Ravens' first two picks as players. The second-round pick I hate as a human being, so I'm going to keep my opinions to that. Clint also said that Peyton Hillis 2.0 is going to be Cam Scattaboo. I completely disagree. I think Scattaboo is going to be a monster. Dustin said, in other words, Isaiah Bond, who was a potential first-round pick, went undrafted, and due to his legal issues, is now signing with the UFL because no team wants to touch him. Oh, God. I hope that's a joke.
Probably not.
What's up, Jeff? Jeff's back with us again after... Jeff, glad you were able to come back on and watch the show on Monday. We appreciate it. And then Dustin said, steal the entire draft was the Vikings getting Trey Stewart, an undrafted free agent. He is coming off a 1,700-yard season with Jacksonville State and 25 touchdowns. Jesus.
Okay.
All right, we want to get to some losers.
Yeah, let's do it. Why don't you kick us off?
All right. My first loser I have is the New Orleans Saints. I have no idea what the Saints are doing. And I hate to say that because I actually like some of their picks. Devin Neal, the running back from Kansas, love him. Yeah. I like Kellen Moore has definitely got his fingers all over Kelvin Banks. I think you got to build up at the offensive line. Brian Ramsek, of course, is retired. You put Kelvin Banks on the other side of Fuaga for the long term. You got your tackles. What the hell are you doing taking Tyler Shaw as your quarterback? I understand that Shedeur Sanders and Dion can be a headache. You don't have the... So what the Saints did was they took a quarterback with durability issues to potentially replace a quarterback with durability issues. The Saints may have the worst quarterback room in football right now.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate.
I can't. I don't like what the Saints did. And I hate it because I love Kelvin Banks. I think he's a stud. Dustin said the Saints are losers, and he means big losers. This is all the proof that they will roll with Rattler and they're tanking. It's a tank job. What's up, Georgie?
What's up, Georgie? But the thing is, like, why even waste your pick on Tyler Show if you're just going to roll with Rattler and tank this year? Because clearly there's not a single person in that front office that thought that he was going to turn out to be their franchise quarterback.
No.
So why take him in the second round like that? Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Clint.
Clint's actually going to my next team, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Look.
They're my number one. Spoiler alert.
Dustin, I don't know how much of a backup shot is to Rattler, but anyway. Bengals, I don't like anything that they did. I do like them getting Dylan Fairchild in the third round. I think that could be a steal amongst the offensive line. Yep. This team's defense has been absolute dog shit for about 2 years now. And the three defensive players you get are Barrett Carter, who is potentially could be a steal, but is an undersized linebacker. Demetrius Knight, who is a up and down, is a north and south linebacker who is not good in coverage. And Shamar Stewart, who, without a doubt, is the worst defensive end the worst edge rusher taken in this draft. The guy's career high in sacks at A&M was 1.5. You could have took so many other players at 17, and you chose to take the project who was a combine freak. That's what you chose to do. Yeah, George, it's cheaper. They're shopping on the back at the freaking clearance rack, clearly. But yeah, I absolutely hate what the Bengals did. I don't like any of it, and they're probably going to be the same team next year. They're going to score a bunch of points and lose a bunch of games because they can't stop anybody.
Joe Burrow will be running for his life.
Again.
Again.
And now my next three losers. My next loser, Steelers fan. You know why? You didn't get Shedeur. You didn't even get Jackson Dart. But I'll tell you who you're going to get. So the reason they're my losers, because here's the problem, right? Steelers fans are now stuck with one of two scenarios. You're either going to be stuck with another year of maybe a little slightly better than Russell Wilson with Aaron Rodgers, but you get to deal with that headache for a whole year. Or you get stuck with Mason Rudolph. So Steelers fans are going to have a rough year next year. Don't get me wrong. I actually like some of the players they took. I love Derek Harmon. Yeah. Which, by the way, Derek Harmon, thoughts and prayers out to him. That is words can't describe what that kind of a day could do to a young man. But Derek Harmon, love the pick. Glad he's an NFL player. And thoughts and prayers out to him and his family. They got Caleb Johnson. Love that pick.
Yeah.
But once again, you're going to be stuck with either Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. Have fun.
What pains me is that the Steelers got Jack Sawyer in the 4th round.
Dustin, I don't think Tyler wants to see this right now.
It's over. I mean, hey, playing with house money, dude. From the 10th seed to knock out the 9th and 8th seed to sneak your way in, they weren't doing jack all this season. They somehow did more than the Sixers. I don't know how that happened, but they did that.
Clint said with all the money the Bengals spent this offseason, they couldn't afford to draft projects. No, and they're basically almost doing what the Eagles are doing. Now, the Eagles guys are taking a little less than their value, but you can't spend all that money on offense and have your defense be a bunch of projects.
Yep. Like, I was so devastated with that pick of Shedeur Stewart because all you heard was Shedeur Stewart, most overrated player in the draft.
He is. He's not.
At pick 17, I really thought they were going to go offensive line. With the way the draft panned out, they still could have got a good edge rusher at 49 when they picked again. But no. They take Shedeur Stewart. Not only do they not go offensive line for one of the top talent O-linemen, they go with the biggest project at edge rusher, the most overhyped player in the draft. And that's who they pick. And I was just like, it was in your lap to not mess it up, and you messed it up.
Oh, yeah.
Now, all they can hope is that he somehow magically learns how to finish and tackle the quarterback and actually make some plays.
Hopefully he gets more than 2 sacks than what he had at A&M.
Man.
Dustin wanted to bring up that Mason Rudolph is 10-5 as a starter. He has a very solid numbers as a starter and has a playoff win. Don't overlook Rudolph, who is 8-3 as a Steelers starter. Dustin, that's all fine and dandy, but when you're going up against the likes of Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow, Allen, it's over before you even get a chance to say hi. And the Steelers will do what they do. They'll start out 6-0 because their defense overachieves, and then they'll get tired, and then all the good stuff happens.
Yep.
And Clint said the Bengals thought they were getting another Myles Garrett. Jesus God, Clint, the Bengals may have not even be lucky if they got another Bryce Huff.
Cool.
But anyway, so yeah, my first 3 losers, Bengals, Steelers fans, and the Saints. My next loser, Shane Steichen. I feel bad. Now, Shane Steichen had got Tyler Warren. I agree with you. That's the best value in the first round is getting Tyler Warren where you got him. Not only was Shane Steichen given Anthony Richardson, who is a quarterback who cannot consistently pass the football, they gave him competition in Daniel Jones, who's another quarterback who cannot consistently pass the football. So they do draft a quarterback in this year's draft, Riley Leonard, who is another quarterback who cannot consistently pass.
Pick your poison coming into this year.
Shane Steichen is going to get fired because they cannot evaluate the quarterback position to save their lives. And he's going to go back. He's going to go somewhere and be a great offensive coordinator again. Because he's a great coach. Steichen's supposed to do with that.
You know, I could really only hope, with how many chances the Giants have given Dable, which I'm fine with because I think Dable's a great coach still, I hope Steichen gets a shot for them to just suck and let them get a top 3 pick and take a quarterback next year. I really hope so. Because Anthony Richardson's not the answer. He's a backup at most. Daniel Jones is not the answer. He's a backup at most. And Riley Leonard, he should be a third string. Which, funnily enough, he actually will be a third string this year. Congratulations.
Justin said the Bengals' new defensive coordinator is the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame from last season. He drafted Stewart because he recruited him in high school and he believes in his upside. Dustin, that's all fine, but the Bengals are not in a situation where they can bank off of upside. They need a proven talent in that defense, and they need it now.
Yep.
Dustin also said that the only thing that will save Steichen is having Daniel Jones play well. You have seen what Kevin O'Connell has done with young quarterbacks. Maybe he helps Jones out a bit to save his career. Maybe. Daniel Jones. Daniel freaking Jones.
Essentially, Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence are like the same player. One just got to keep his job longer. If you pull up their head-to-head numbers, man, you could just take the names away from them. You'd probably have a hard time figuring out who's who.
You're not wrong. And my last loser is actually 49ers offensive line coach Chris Forster, because they didn't give him no new toys. The Niners are really approaching a dangerous territory with an off-injured Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, who's already not the greatest quarterback in the world. Trent Williams is getting up there in age, and he's pretty damn old at this point. And they lost their best guard to the Packers in free agency. They lost McGlinchey about 2 years ago, and they didn't draft an offensive lineman until the 7th round.
Yes,
no, don't get me wrong.
They got their guard replacement in the 7th round. What's wrong with that?
Oh, knock it off. This psychopath in Philadelphia has the best O-line in football, and he still drafted 3 more. And Dustin is saying he is looking at the Jones situation in Indy as I am looking at Sam Howell now in Minnesota. When Howell started in Washington, he led the league in passing, but also an interception. Yeah, I liked the fit for Sam Howell to go over to Minnesota. I do like that fit. That was a good trade for the Vikings. But yeah, the Niners, they needed a juice on the defensive side. Michael Williams and Alfred Collins will do that. They re-blocked their front 7. That offensive line is not good. And if it gets 1 or 2 injuries, it's over. Dustin also said if O'Connell can get Howell to cut down on the picks, maybe the Vikings would have something in Howell. If JJ doesn't work, he's only 26 and was the UNC all-time leader in every passing category. Plus, he has a cannon. Dustin, trust me. I watched Sam Howell rip my defense apart with 8 million slants. I know who Sam Howell is.
And he's another one. Like, I get it. They drafted Jaden Daniels, right? I get that. But Sam Howell, I feel like he had a pretty solid rookie year being asked to be the starter like that.
He did. And Clint said it doesn't matter. CMC will be on IR by week 4. I hope George isn't watching this.
That is very generous of you, Clint, to think that he's gonna make it to week 1.
Why you gotta be? Why?
I'm just being realistic here.
I get you're being realistic, but my God, man,
we got the whole summer to get turf toe, buddy. All right.
Turf toe, Jesus
It'll
God.
put him out for 8 weeks.
All right, Tyler, what you got? What you got for your losers?
Oh man, everybody. Not named the Eagles. Now, first up, we kind of both took the dig at them. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. They're the biggest loser of the night. They found a way to mess it up when everything was aligned for them perfectly. Yeah, they got a good pick out of Dylan Fairchild. They still could have probably had more value with the offensive line as well if they opted to not go with Shedeur Stewart at 17. We're going to move on from them because I don't want to talk about them anymore. Next up, New Orleans Saints. Kelvin Banks, good player. Was he a reach at number 9? Maybe. He'll still end up being. He'll still be a good pass protector, run blocker though. Tyler Show, what are we doing? Show this kid the door because he's not going to last more than a year. Kid from Texas. I think it's a good pick in the 3rd round. Vernon Broughton. Part of that, one of those legendary Texas defenses. I don't think you can really go wrong with picking some pieces off of there. I like that they got the safety from Virginia, Jonas Anchor. I think that's another good pickup in the 3rd round, but not enough. It's too little, too late, and the rest of the draft just kind of falls down the wayside. And then you get Devin Neal in the 6th round. I think that's a solid value in the 6th round.
Good
See what
value.
you can get. But out of that, they had a bad draft. They didn't do much. And then Tyler Show. So, moving on, Jacksonville Jaguars are another one of my losers.
Really?
Here's why.
The floor is yours.
Outside of moving up and giving more draft capital, which includes a 1st rounder from next year, to get Travis Hunter, what would you really do outside of that? The kid Ransall in the 3rd round, okay. I think he'll be good. The guard, Millam from West Virginia, maybe. Maybe you might have something in that. But then you just keep going down the list, and I'm not really seeing a whole lot of potential here. So then it leaves me with, okay, you got Travis Hunter. That's your draft. Maybe a starting cornerback in the future. Possibly a decent guard. I don't know. I didn't like the draft. I feel like they didn't really do a lot. They had how many picks is this? 4, 5, 9 picks, and out of 9 picks, I'm only seeing like 2 players. Travis Hunter will be a star, but aside from that, a bunch of question marks. Didn't like the draft. I think they're a loser.
I don't disagree with it.
Hopefully their overreach to get Travis Hunter hopefully pays off. Hopefully he's just that outstanding of a playmaker on both sides of the football for him, and it's worth it.
I will say Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, and Brian Thomas strike fear in anybody. That's a talented duo right there.
Yeah. But then you still got Trevor Lawrence. That's another question mark. Because now it's no excuses time for Trevor Lawrence. You got the weapons. Let's see you do something. I mean, taking a running back in the 4th round to pair with Tank Bigsby, there's your running back tandem. Go do something.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Didn't like their draft. one bit. Another team that might be a little bit of a shocker to some people. This might cause some waves. Houston Texans. Now they're further down on my list, so they're not like biggest loser, but they're another team. Didn't really like the draft that much. I think they hit really well with the fact that they didn't have a first round pick. They went and got Jaden Higgins at 34. I like that. I don't like that they drafted his running mate, Jalen Noel.
Really?
For the third round, 79th pick, there was a lot of other value and talent on the board besides getting the kid's running mate from college. I love that they drafted Arante Irsay. I think that was a great pick to be had in the second round. Loved that. Jalen Smith out of USC, I think that was a good pickup for the third round as well. But after that, Woody Marks, running back out of USC, Maybe they have something in Jalen Reed from Penn State. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? They got him in the sixth round. Is that a good value for him?
I just want to know how many mother effing safeties does one team need?
Well, how many wide receivers does one team need?
When you have Christian Kirk and Tank Dell out for the season, you need a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah.
But
then Houston finished it up with, let's see, what else? Not much.
What do you want? Do you actually want my thoughts on Jalen Reed?
Yeah.
If you're playing him up in the box near the line of scrimmage, you're getting a really good tackler and a guy who's going to play through the whistle. If you're playing him in small zone coverage packages, he can make a play or two here and there. If you're expecting him to be the man coverage guy on a tight end or something, you got a lot of freaking work to do. He has a lot of work to do. He was targeted 46 times last year and allowed 34 completions. So he needs a lot of work done. But at round 6, that's good value.
Okay.
Yeah, also, good point here for Dustin. No Diggs either. Is now in New England. And Robert Woods went to the Steelers today.
Okay. So that's fine. I'm still just not a fan of the draft and the teammate around later. I thought there were better wide receiver options on the board than him when they took him with the third.
Why don't we address the offensive line for a second, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, they only drafted one. They lost how many? Arante Irsay.
Okay. Well, all right, yeah, they got rid of Tunsil, but they did sign Cam Robinson.
Yes, that is true. See, I forget which side Irsay plays on. Do you know which side does Robinson play on?
I forget, but it sounds like Titus Howard's moving inside. So
yeah, I think they'll make him the move inside because I think Irsay he's a tackle. He'll start left or right, whatever side. It just works out better on between
Brown signed Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's he's almost complete the NFC North tour. Just has to go to Cincinnati.
Oh, brother.
Maybe he can play defensive back for them. Two teams I do want to bring up for the draft. I do want to bring up the Cowboys. I absolutely hate the fact that I liked their first 4 picks.
I wasn't done with mine. I had one more team.
I thought you said 5. Jeez, I thought you said your 5. My mistake. I'm sorry.
Well, my last team isn't a very notable one. It's the Cowboys. Thanks for bringing them up.
There you go.
Didn't really like their draft that much. They got a few good players early on. But after that, I just felt like, what were they doing? Booker, it was a good pick at 12. May have been some more talent than him available at that point. I think the Cowboys were looking more towards Banks. I don't think they were expecting him to go earlier than he did.
Agreed.
But then they come away with Ezraku as well. Just another great pass rusher to put next to Micah. And then I think the kid, if he's healthy, here is where I made the determination that they lost in this draft. The upside of Siobhan Revel, the cornerback, is great if he stays healthy. You know who else's upside is great when they're healthy? Trayvon Diggs. Half of the secondary of the Dallas Cowboys. They go and get another guy who has an injury history now, a major injury, and you're putting him in that room of guys in the secondary who also have injury histories. That is where I think that they lost at. I do like the 5th round pickup of Jaden Blue. I think that's a solid get for him.
He honestly may get a lot of touches early on because I am not. Come on, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, give me a break.
Yeah, get out of here. Miss me with that. But yeah, aside from that, I don't really know what else they did that great.
Tell you something. I know we say this every year, but now that they're out of the mainstream media stories, I'm not even just talking about the draft. I like what the Jets are doing.
Me too.
You look at the Jets right now, right? They have easily a up-and-coming offensive line. You know, they got Armand Membu in the first round. They got Fafanu last year. They have their offensive line is building up to look really solid. They still have Breece Hall, barring any trade. They still have Garrett Wilson. They've got Mason Taylor in round 2, which I absolutely hate because I love freaking Mason Taylor. They got Malachi Moore, who was one of my favorite defensive backs in this draft, so Aaron Glenn may be able to work out something with him. Give Justin Fields just a little bit of confidence. I like what the Jets are doing. I don't know how good they're going to be, but I like what they're building over there.
Yeah.
I really do.
And the kid they got out of Florida State, that's Ray Thomas. Throwing him in there and Sauce Gardner. And everything else they got in the secondary. I mean, they had a good draft.
That could be a possible DJ Reed replacement.
Yeah, could be.
Back to the Cowboys, I agree. I like the Jaden Blue pick. He's going to probably be a pain in our behind for a couple of years. Revel, a lot of health concerns. Good value if he's healthy. I hate the Ezeraku pick because I wanted Donovan Ezeraku so bad. I like Tyler Booker, the player. I think he could be the best guard in this draft. I still think Jarrett Wilson was the best interior offensive lineman in general. But I think Tyler Booker is the best guard in this draft, but I am not spending a top 12 pick on that.
Yep.
Especially when I'm going into the season and my second pass catching option is who? Like, I would have hated it. Could you imagine if you would have paired Tyler Warren with CeeDee Lamb?
Oh.
I don't want to deal with that. Justin said that's because Woody Johnson stopped playing Madden for Trey. Yeah, I saw this earlier on Twitter that Dustin just brought up. Shaq has agreed to become the assistant GM for Sacramento State basketball. Talk about a huge boost for their recruiting.
Yeah, I saw that too.
All right, Tyler, let's get to our final segment. We haven't talked about them in a while. Let's talk about the reigning and defending Super Bowl champion.
Let's do it.
You want to start off, or do you want me to start it off?
Why don't you start it off? I know you're excited. I know you've been waiting.
All right, well, here. I'll start this right now. For all the GMs that probably did not answer Howie Roseman's phone calls over the weekend, which was a lot, because apparently Howie was trying to trade up for multiple rounds, but teams didn't want to talk to him. I can understand that. He fleeces every team he talks to. That's fine.
Yeah. It's better than not pick the phone up.
And yet you somehow still let a top 15 talent get to him at 31 and Jihad Campbell. First off, let me answer some issues that some people think that we have. No, Jihad Campbell is not currently injured with a shoulder injury. He may have to have another surgery after next season, possibly. Number 2, I will trust the Eagles medical staff with their evaluation of players, because I believe the last Alabama player that we took with these concerns goes by the name of Landon Dickerson. That is Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowl left guard, Landon Dickerson. Mm-hmm. Also, Jahad Campbell does not have a knee issue. He had his knee scoped one time 2 years ago and missed one game. That is not a knee issue. So Albert Breer can get his reporting straight. And to answer this damn question, no, Jahad Campbell is not an edge rusher. He's a middle linebacker who can rush the quarterback on occasions in certain packages. But in a league where basically a touchback now puts you at midfield, essentially, you have to be dominant in the middle of the field. So if you look at the levels of the Eagles' defense, at defensive tackle, you have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis you have to run at. At the second level, you have Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell now for the next 3 years. And in the back, you have in the slot Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, and now Andrew Makuba. Which Makuba may be my favorite pick of the weekend because I love his tape. I get people are trying to say, oh, could it have been a small reach? Maybe by 10 picks. But that was the point. They knew Makuba would not be there at number 96. And they knew he would not get to a point where they could trade up for him in round 3. They had to take Makuba there. And I'm sorry, if Vic Fangio likes him that much, who are we to judge it?
Exactly. Like, clearly, they saw something here. And sorry for any of the fan club for Sidney Brown out there. But, yeah, it doesn't look like old Sidney's going to be getting the starting job.
And honestly, now, because the Eagles are weird like this, we don't think they have a need for something, they still may sign Justin Simmons.
I think they do. I think they bring Simmons in on a 1-year deal.
Because as of today at 4 o'clock now, any unsigned free agent does not go against the comp pick formula.
Ah.
Now, ultimately, a target I would like to see the Eagles look at, somebody like Zadarius Smith, get maybe another edge rusher in here. But I'll tell you right now, I didn't think Vic Fangio was very high on Sidney Brown before the Makuba pick. If they still sign Justin Simmons, then that officially means that Vic Fangio wants nothing to do with Sidney Brown being a starting safety on his football team.
Yeah. He's going to be playing special teams until his contract's up.
That or him and Makuba are going to knock somebody out together in a preseason game to win that job. And Makuba, another thing. Makuba, oh, he's got a small frame. Okay? And the guy's a good football player.
Yeah, literally. I mean, we're talking about a safety here, right? There's a lot of safeties in the league who have smaller frames. It's just people like to nitpick. They'll find anything to talk about, anything to grasp onto.
Well, I want you to give me your thoughts on at least the first 2 picks before we continue. So give me your thoughts on Jahad Campbell and Andrew Makuba, because Tyler, we're missing linebackers now over here in Philadelphia.
Howie's thinking future-proof, right? You went and locked up Zach Bond. Had a great career year. Should have been a defensive player of the year.
Agreed.
You name it. Nakobe Dean, he's coming up on a contract soon. He hasn't played a full year healthy. He played great last year up until he got hurt, but he ultimately got hurt. So, Jahad Campbell being available and you drafting him, that gets you him for what, Sam? 5 years?
Yep.
Next to Zach Bond, that's going to be an insane middle of the field. If you thought it was a lockdown linebacking core with Bond and Dean, just wait for Bond and Campbell. It's
Campbell's
going to be ridiculous.
You added, essentially, in my opinion, the first 3 picks of this draft for the Eagles are going to contribute from day one.
Yes. Let me get my thoughts on Makuba, and we could talk about the third one, because I think we both love the third one.
Go ahead.
So Makuba, another one. Great pick. I don't think it was a reach. I think it was the perfect situation because, like you said, there was no other way we were getting him unless we take him there. And that's what happens with a lot of these players that we think might have been taken too early. Is like even with Booker and the Cowboys. He wasn't going to be there again for the Cowboys when they picked again. So they kind of had to do it. They had no choice. But I really like this kid. He's a very smart football player. Not the most athletic, but I don't need you to be the most athletic if you got a high football IQ. We're not looking for combine warriors.
No, and he does something that translates in the NFL. What did I say? Kickoffs now are going to be starting at the 35-yard line. So Makuba does one thing that you need now in the NFL that translates. He takes the football away.
Yep.
You need guys that take the football away. Not to mention, he is not. I don't care if he's 5'11", 100. I don't care if he's $160 soaking wet. He ain't afraid to lay the wood out on you either.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask Gunnar Stockton how that worked. But let's move down the list with this class because honestly, Howie always hit the days. Howie's day 3 picks are always really solid.
Oh yeah.
Tyler, in honor of our third pick, I'll let you start on this one, just because of the name.
Man, Ty Robinson. First thing I heard when he got drafted is he plays angry. From the second that ball snapped till the second the whistle blows. He's got a high motor, good size, just a big, quick guy. He's very athletic. What are some other things they say?
Well, they did say that Matt Rule, because Matt Rule's now the coach of Nebraska, he only gives out single-digit numbers to his toughest players. And Ty Robinson wears number 9.
Wow.
The Eagles, essentially, they needed to add an interior defensive lineman at some point. I thought they would have went for it in the first 2 rounds. I think they really wanted Walter Nolan. I think the Cardinals really screwed that up. I think they really wanted Malachi Starks as well.
Yes.
But the fact that they got Andrew Makuba, Makuba was my safety, I'd say 3. I had Starks 1. I liked Xavier Watts a lot. I like Kevin Winston, but Kevin Winston's knee injury concerned me. So Makuba was consensually my safety 3. So they got one of my top 3 safeties, and they got the best off-ball linebacker in the draft. But Ty Robinson has a chance to be a really high upside pick. Now, he just started to really become a really good interior pass rusher this past year with 7 sacks.
Yeah.
The biggest knock on Ty Robinson is he's like Darius Alexander with the Giants. They're late bloomers. They're the older prospects. They're already like 24, 25. When the hell did I care about that?
Exactly.
Nebraska, that program's on the rise. Matt Rule's been doing a pretty good job with that program over the past couple of years. So I love this pick. I love getting Ty Robinson there. And like I said, you got 3 guys in your first 3 picks. Ty Robinson at 111, Makuba where they got him, and Jahad Campbell. You got 3 day 1 contributors. And probably 2 unless Justin Simmons is signed, 2 day 1 starters. Makuba starts day 1. I don't care how much you love Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown looks good in a Sean Desai defense. When the whole secondary up. But now let's get into the rest of the draft. They took Mac McWilliams, the corner out of UCF, later on. He's got a very high coverage grade in PFF, so that's a very solid pick. You know, I wasn't worried about Nakobe Dean's future when they drafted Jahad Campbell, but the fact that they only drafted him and they drafted Shmael Modden, the other inside linebacker from Georgia, ironically.
Yeah.
that tells me that they also that doesn't only tell me about what they think of Nakobe Dean's long-term health. I don't know how much they think of Jeremiah Trotter after this draft.
I mean, when you think of the play style that Vic Fangio likes to have out there, Trot doesn't really fit that. Like, Fangio likes his ball covering middle linebackers. Trot lacks in the coverage area.
No
He's a
duh.
good tackler.
He allowed a completion to a punter.
Yeah.
In the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
I don't want to. So, do you want to give any thoughts on Mac McWilliams or Shmail Modden? And then we'll keep moving through.
Know too much about them, but I mean, I like it. Continue to add depth at corner. It never hurts. And then, depth for linebacker again, because it's looking like Dean's going to be on his way out ultimately when his contract's done. Good player. Can't really stay healthy. He'll find a home somewhere, but we won't be the team paying him.
I got a theory to this draft, by the way, after we're done going through the list. The next couple of picks they took, they went Drew Kendall out of Boston College, guard, class center. The Eagles were really annoyed last year when they attempted to sneak Dylan McMahon through waivers at the end of the cutdown period in August into September, and the Rams claimed him. And so ever since then, they were trying to find a long-term answer at backup center to Cam Jurgens. I think Drew Kendall is that. He's a guy who's versatile. He can play both guard and center. He can get out and run on the open field and block downfield for running backs.
Yeah, he's very athletic.
That's the one thing the Eagles did this draft. They went with a lot of guys that their athletic scores were all through the chart.
Yep.
I think the only one that really wasn't was Makuba, but Makuba's still a good football player.
Exactly.
Then the sick SOB took Kyle McCord.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you're going to need a backup at some point.
And so instead of paying Tanner McKee in a year, why don't you just keep McCord?
Yeah. Hey, maybe we trade McKee. The next coming of Tom Brady. Get the fuck out of here.
Ho. Relax now.
Hey, if it means getting a second rounder out of him, sure. Call him whatever you want.
Hey, man, if you get anything for Tanner, look, if you get anything for a 6th-round pick out of Stanford, you should deserve a medal. Even this draft, Howie Roseman has 13 draft picks next year. But no, I mean, McCord led. I mean, we know McCord, he was at Ohio State, didn't work out there, transferred to Syracuse, led the ACC in passing. So,
yep.
It's another cheap option to develop into a backup quarterback. And the Eagles always go into camp with 4 quarterbacks. So right now your quarterbacks are Hurts, McKee, McCord, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who is probably, if anything, screaming for the practice squad.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler. Now let's go down to our final 3. Let's go back to Stoutland University. They take Michigan tackle Miles Hilton, which is only like the 3rd favorite pick on this list because they went out and they took in the 6th round Cam Williams out of Texas. Give me your thoughts. You're Mr. Stoutland U, so give me your thoughts.
All I got to say is I don't care if they're drafted in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. If they're getting coached by Stoutland, they got a shot at being a starter.
They don't even got to be football players in some cases.
Exactly. Don't even got to play football as their first sport. But I think out of the 2, I think Cam Williams has the higher upside for a Stoutland U candidate.
If he would have went back to Texas, they said he probably would have been a 1st-round pick, maybe a day 2 pick next year.
Oh, yeah, I can see it. Yep.
He's a large individual.
Oh, yeah.
He almost kind of fits into the mold of Mekhi Becton. He's very inconsistent. Last year at Texas, he had a lot of penalty issues with holding. He's got a lot of work. He's got a lot of work to do to be anything of an NFL offensive lineman, but I believe under Jeff Stoutland, Cam Williams, he probably should have went back to Texas. But even this year, people had him as a late day 2 pick. People cannot believe he dropped to the 6th round.
Yep. No, I think it's very depending on what Stout sees from him out of this year. We could see this when Lane Johnson hangs it up. We could possibly see Cameron Williams as a replacement. Now that's granted that could be years from now, and we might have one of the hand-picked Lane Johnson replacements by that time, anyways. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. And with Miles Hilton, he's been very inconsistent. He started at Stanford. He then transferred to Michigan. Yep. He is kind of getting moved in and out of the lineup because of inconsistent play. Who knows? Maybe Stoutland turns him into the next right guard project.
Yeah, you're right.
And if Cam Williams is working out early, I think that the right guard spot's got a lot of competition. Tyler Steen now, you got him, Kenyon Green. I'm sure Drew Kendall's going to get some looks there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Williams got looks either. I really think that right guard spot is up for grabs.
Yeah.
So, and then the last draft pick they took Antoine Powell-Ryland, the edge rusher from Virginia Tech. And I thought the Eagles were going to miss out on a lot of good prospects this year in terms of defensive linemen. I love that they got Ty Robinson at pick 111. I think Antoine Powell-Ryland could actually be a day 1 contributor. I think a lot of these guys could contribute next year.
Okay.
So I do have some interesting numbers on just certain draft picks in this class for the Eagles. So let's go look at it real quick, okay? All right. Now, these are all over the place, just so everyone knows. So here's one from Brandon Deej on Twitter about linebacker Shmael Martin Jr. He was second-team All-SEC in 2023. He's a freak athlete, 3-year starter at Georgia, led the team in tackles in 2022. If it wasn't for a foot injury, he would have been a day 2 pick. The Eagles got another Georgia dog. So the Eagles may have gotten a solid player there. Let me keep going here. All right, so now here's one. I hate Elliott Shore-Parks. We know this. But here's what he had to say about Antoine Powell-Ryland from Virginia Tech. 6'2", 258 pounds. He's 23 years old. He had 9 forced fumbles in 3 seasons, with 3 in each of the last 3 seasons. So he had 3 forced fumbles a season.
Would you like to hear
his
some
pass
more?
Now, his pass rush numbers are super impressive. He had 16 sacks and 19 tackles for loss last season. Over the last 2 years, he has 25.5 sacks and 33.5 tackles for loss at Virginia Tech. He has impressive pass rush moves, doesn't just luck into sacks or win with power.
Hi, Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, he doesn't even luck into him, Mr. 1.5 sacks.
The only knocks about Antoine Powell-Ryland is he's not good against the run. He's a little small, and his arms are a little shorter than you'd like. But
I mean, Josh Sweat with more sack production.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about production. Mike Green had 17 sacks last year. Powell-Ryland had 16.
Yeah. In the ACC. It's not like it's some chump conference.
And again, all right, he's not good against the run. Well, that's why you have Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, the Eagles probably would keep 5 edge rushers. If I had to pick my 5 edge rushers, it's probably going to be Smith, Hunt, Ojulari, Uche, and Powell-Ryland. Yeah, Bryce Huff, so long, babe.
Bryce who? Josh
exactly. Huff? I think Powell-Ryland could turn into a pretty solid player for the Eagles.
I think he can, too.
Mac McWilliams. He had a PFF coverage grade of 84.8. That's 22nd out of 494 corners last year.
Wow.
Ty Robinson, 6'5", 288 pounds. Last year, 7 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. He ran a 4.83 40, second fastest among DT. So, I think we're kind of getting the point of where I'm going here, right?
Howie's got some dogs in the draft.
Andrew Makuba last. Let's look at Andrew Makuba. I think I have a couple on him, actually. So here's one, right? Oh, he's got a small frame. 5'11", 186 pounds, a 4.45 40, and a 75 3-8 wingspan. DJ, 5'10", 210 pounds, ran a 4.48 40, and a 74 wingspan. That's pretty damn identical to me.
Yeah.
So for all the people that Makuba also allowed 74 yards in coverage last year. Oh, and he had 5 interceptions. So my last words for the Eagles draft class. You complained all offseason how they lost all their defensive depth. They still have elite players on defense. You still have Jalen Carter. You still have Jordan Davis. You still have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship and Zach Bowen. But you lost a lot of depth, right?
Yeah.
So now, let's just look at the Eagles draft class real quick. You had Jahad Campbell, top 15 pick in the draft. He's a top 15 talent. So there's that. You complained about trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You draft Andrew Makuba. There's his replacement. You complained about losing Milton Williams. You draft Ty Robinson. There's his replacement. You complained about losing Avonte Maddox behind Cooper DeJean. You draft Mac McWilliams. There's his replacement. You complained about losing Oren Burks. You draft Shmael Modden. There's his replacement. You complained about losing Josh Sweat. You draft Antoine Powell-Ryland. There's his replacement. You get Kyle McCord to be a cheap backup, and you add 3 offensive linemen, which Stoutland will probably turn 2 of them into solid players.
Yeah.
And the problem is,
they didn't trade up for Malachi Starks. That's the problem.
all I know is that this will be a draft that the Eagles once again took contributors to the reason they are staying where they are. Jahad Campbell is going to solidify the middle of this defense, as is Andrew Makuba.
Yep.
I can see Jahad Campbell being used in multiple ways in that front. I don't see he's not an edge rusher. He's going to rush from spots on the field, but he's an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
He can run sideline to sideline. He can cover out on tight end. He can literally just do whatever you need. He can rush the passer occasionally. This puts Zach Bowen in a spot now where he doesn't have to always do it. Now they have both that can, or they can send an all-out blitz and just scare the life out of somebody. But, in my opinion, I'm going to give this draft a solid B+. Campbell's a day one starter. Makuba's a day one starter. Ty Robinson will probably be a rotational player early, but I think he could turn into something really good. McWilliams, depth behind DeJean. Modden, depth behind Bowen and Campbell. Maybe a starter one day. Drew Kendall, depth piece, maybe competition at right guard. McCord, cheap backup quarterback for the future. Hilton and Cam Williams, project tackles. I think Cam Williams has the higher upside than Hilton, in my opinion. I think Cam Williams, if he has a really strong training camp, he could maybe have some fix it for either right guard, or maybe him or Hilton could maybe develop into a swing tackle. And then Powell-Ryland, I think, give him maybe a year, maybe, he has to maybe take a year to develop as an edge to get him into the edge rusher rotation. But I'm not going to put it past it for this year because look at Jalen Hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
The three winners in this draft, in my opinion, for the Eagles, Jalen Hunt, because I think they really like him.
Yep.
Keely Ringo and Jordan Davis. Because, of course, I saw a tweet earlier. Someone was like, oh, Jordan Davis really has to show out now. I am not trying to explain to Eagle fans what Jordan Davis' role in this team is anymore.
Yeah.
I'm done explaining it. If you don't know it, you don't watch football.
Yeah, because clearly Ty Robinson's not a threat to Jordan Davis. They're two different types of defensive tackles. Ty Robinson was drafted as Milton Williams' potential replacement, who he's going to be battling Maro Ajamo for that replacement for Milton Williams.
Yeah, and on third down packages, you may see on 3rd and 13, you're not going to see Jordan Davis. You're going to see Jalen Carter, Ajamo, and Ty Robinson. That's who you're going to see.
Yep.
And another big winner for this also, I'm going to say Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche. You know, they were signed to fairly cheap contracts. So, I mean, Ryland's going to come in and I think contribute eventually, but I really like the rotation of. I love Azeez Ojulari. I loved him with the Giants, and if he's healthy in a rotational role, could easily be a guy who gives you six to 8 sacks as a backup.
Yeah, they have to feel confident, and Fangio included in them, because they didn't go out of their way and prioritize getting more edge rush help until their last pick of the draft. So clearly, they're pretty comfortable with what they have at the edge position right now.
Exactly. They are confident in the team they've put together, and I'm confident in the team they put together. Look what they just did. This team was the best team in football after 5 weeks. From that point on, they were the best team in football. So now you're sitting here, you add more young premier talent to it, and like I said, the middle of the field defensively. You got to run at Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter to get tackled by Zach Bowen and Jihad Campbell, all just to throw an interception to Reed Blankenship or Andrew Makuba. And guess what? There's still veteran players out there that they could still add. I still think they're going to add Justin Simmons for some odd reason.
Yep.
They could still, and I'm happy that they're going to let Keely Ringo get a shot. Keely Ringo's done nothing in 3 years but do everything they asked him for. They drafted him they traded up in the 4th round to get him in 2023. He was 21 years old. He had to be thrusted into that cornerback's role because Slay and Bradbury both went down. And Ringo actually played well down that stretch. Last year, he clearly knew he wasn't going to have that same opportunity. They drafted Quinyon Mitchell to play opposite Darius Slay. But he was a special team gunner, and he was throwing some hits out there on special teams.
He was.
And honestly, a guy, I keep saying this, they keep forgetting about. Do not keep forgetting about Eli Ricks. Because they kept him on the roster all last year. Even with all that depth at corner, they kept these guys. I think this team is still in a really good spot, and it's probably not done. They're going to add some more talent between now and the season. It's Howie Roseman. He's never not looking for talent.
Exactly.
But anyway, Tyler, do we have anything else to talk to the people?
I think that's about it.
All righty, then. Well, guys, one last time before we get out of here, we want to thank you all so much for coming along with us throughout this past week around the NFL draft. All 3 episodes last week were amazing, from the preview show to the 2 live reaction shows we did on Thursday and Friday night. Those were both almost 4 hours long. Such a fun time. We want to thank everybody for joining us this week. So everybody who's throwing comments in, Dustin, thank you. George, thank you. Clint, Anthony, Carol, all of our great fans. You guys make these shows great every single week we're here. So we're going to get up on out of here for the week. Back to the normal schedule every Monday. Jeff, thank you for throwing me a comment in here as well. We're glad you made your way back from our draft show on Thursday, which,
Yep.
by the way, guys, our night one draft show on Facebook hit 1,000 views. So thank you all so much for that. That is such a great milestone for us, and we appreciate it so much. Carol, have a great week. I see you put your comment in here for us, so thank you. We'll see you next time. We'll be back next week, guys, to talk any more news around the world of the NFL or some college football. Who knows? So, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We hope you all enjoy the NFL draft and all of our coverage, and we will see you guys next time. For Kyler Adams, I'm Sam Nelson. Good night, everybody.